All right. So you lived in South Korea? Is that right?
Yeah, I lived there almost 4 years.
How was that? Well,
And
let's go back. What made you decide to move there?
uh, I grew up as an army brat, so we moved every 3 years up until I was about 12, I'd say.
Okay.
Uh, so I I don't. The rest of my family isn't this way. I only got this bug, I guess, but I get very restless when I'm in the same place for more than 2 years. Uh, and
Makes
also
sense
I
when you're
was growing.
accustomed to just getting up and going places, right?
Yeah, and then I was also we were in rural Kentucky. That was where my dad retired and we stopped moving. So for me growing up with this big rainbowed secret, I didn't feel safe to be me or myself. I was also kind of yeah, just I had no confidence and I just needed to. It felt like I needed to get away. So,
So
but
Kentucky
I was
was
also scared.
not adventurous enough, is what you're saying, or not progressive enough at the time.
No, I mean like I was.
Big surprise.
Welcome to Fathernetics, Fatherhood Unfiltered. I'm Jamil. Welcome to the podcast.
You can never find somebody do it like me. I'ma turn it all the way up cause it kamikaze. Go ahead and try, baby, you are gonna see that you'll never ever find somebody do it like me.
All of my yeah, all of my friends were from church, and I had people around me saying like, gay people are going to hell, like everywhere I turned. So, and also just not much was happening in Rhineyville, Kentucky. So my dad was actually stationed in Korea for about 5 months, and we couldn't go with him. And then he brought back these videotapes of like just TV shows that he recorded, and I was obsessed. I loved the
Okay, you
language.
want
I
to
loved
explain
seeing the.
videotapes to those
Oh,
listening?
yes. So they were these things that predate streaming DVDs that we would. They were like black bricks that we would have to put in a machine, and it would play videos for us.
I like that because
Uh,
I just did a kids. I have a 12-year-old and his friend were over and we did a video of questions you asked your kids about the 90s, and one of them was about what does be kind rewind mean, and they were like, oh, we have no idea. Is that like being kind to adults? It was hilarious. So if you have a chance, it's on my YouTube channel. I had a good time with that because I used to work at a Blockbuster Video.
wow.
No, mind blown. I know. Sorry.
And now
So I
that was
worked
the
there for
dream
five
job in high
years.
school.
Yes, I mean it was, if you were anywhere near the movie scene and loved movies, and Blockbusters where you wanted to work until Netflix came in and crushed it. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, let me go go back to your VHS from Korea.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So yeah, I was. I couldn't understand anything they were saying, but I'd watch them over and over. I think I wore them out actually. And then I studied English and education, and all of my friends they were wanting to stay. We all taught or were studying to teach English as a second language, but they wanted to stay in Kentucky or somewhere around there. And our professor was just like, "Please tell me somebody wants to go somewhere," because she studied it or she taught in China, and uh, so she gave me this list. She goes, "You can either do China or Korea, or if you want to be like everyone else, you can go to Japan." Uh, and she
Well, that
said,
was
"But
salty, wasn't it?
she had a point. Everybody wanted to go to Japan. They still do. Um, but yeah, she goes, China and Korea, those are probably going to be the best ones. China culturally, she goes, and you're going to make the most money and connections in Korea. And yeah, I just remembered, those videotapes and things like that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Korea. I don't know what I'm going to do or like how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to go. So I just started applying for jobs, and turns out you can have a degree in anything and they'll hire you to teach English as long as you look like you speak English, if that made sense. It's
Really?
a bit racist.
So they
Yeah,
they will teach you the curriculum as long as you can speak the language
yep,
competently, then go forth and conquer.
exactly. So like, yeah, one of my best friends there, she had a degree in fashion merchandising, and she was teaching 5-year-olds. But yeah,
Well,
so
I love 5-year-olds. Or the educational perspective in South Korea seems fascinating.
it's very and maybe it's improved since then. It's been about 12 years since I was there. But yeah, they paid for my plane ticket, they paid for my house, and they paid me a pretty good salary as well. And yeah, so I was there every year. The contracts only last like 1 year, and then you have to renew if they want to keep you. And I wound up staying almost 4 years because it's very hectic. They're a live to work society, not work to live or live. Yeah, I think I got that
Hmm.
right.
Yep.
So I just had my weekends. I had no vacation, nothing. But I absolutely loved it. I met my partner there, and he's how we wound up in Norway. So man, it's wouldn't go back, wouldn't live there again, just because I like
Been there,
having
done it.
my 5. Yeah, it's nice like to have 5 weeks paid vacation here in Norway. I can't go back to
So you
not being
didn't
able to
have
say no.
time off. Is that because they didn't give it to
No.
you? It's not part of the culture. It's like you couldn't get away even if you wanted to.
No, it's definitely not part of the culture. Calling in sick really isn't a part of the culture. I was like hospitalized one day, and luckily, this is just how I am as a person. But I was in the hospital one day with like a serious stomach virus, full IV, all that stuff, and then a couple hours later, I was at work.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like they no
Wow.
rest.
Okay. So I've talked to a couple of people who have visited South Korea for an extended
Hmm.
period of time. And I always like to ask because I think different perspectives, tie into, where you plug in, how long you've been there, the crowd that you interact with, how out and about in the LGBT community you put yourself in certain countries or not, or decide not to, which is also fine. And I think it also plays into others' genuine interest in visiting South Korea. I know you haven't been there in a while, but would you say that your time there gave you great exposure to those who spoke English? Is it a challenge to be there if you don't speak Korean?
Oh, not at all. Um, Koreans are very curious people. Maybe could have changed since there's so much tourism there now. But everybody wants a friend that speaks English so they can practice, and especially
Mm.
if you're gay, like that. It Korea is where I came out. Um, so I was far away from my parents. Anybody who could have possibly seen
I
me
mean,
go
you
out on
couldn't
a
have
date
gotten
with a guy.
any further, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. And so I came out. So it's my first time at a gay bar, first time having gay friends, and it was so easy when I look back and think about it to make those friends and uh, just kind of thrive in that kind of community there. Because it's also very small. Because Korea is even more conservative than the United States in that way. So
Mm.
yeah, so like there's maybe like 4 different gay bars. Everybody goes to the same place every weekend. And it's not even necessarily about I'd say it's the most Disney-fied gay scene I've ever seen or
What do
experienced
you mean
in
by
the way
that?
that like, oh,
It just
people are
popped into my head. It's
drinking.
like Disneyland, like, but I'm
Oh, no,
sure that's not where
I
you're
mean
talking.
like more innocent, I guess. Because it's people are drinking and it's a bit messy, of course, but when I came, like there was no drugs, there was nothing like too scary in a way. It was very safe and very ex- accepting as long as you found your right people.
Oh, I like
Uh,
that. That's hard to
yeah.
find here in the US. It's definitely
Oh,
there. It's just sometimes it's a little hard to find.
it's very tough here in Norway. Like it's this is where I had a severe culture shock here, where it was just like clicks, drugs, all this stuff, and
All
I
right,
was
so
like,
let's
oh
get
no,
into that,
that's
right? So you move
yeah,
from Korea with
yep,
your newly found partner, which I'm assuming is the
uh-huh.
same person you're with today.
Yes.
And now you're in Norway. And what's the difference between Korea and Norway for you, or anywhere else, really? Because
Well, I always like to joke with people that I thought I was an introvert until I moved to Norway. Uh, it was here that I realized like, oh no, I like interacting with people. I like talking to strangers and things like that. And it made me miss just the kind of random conversations I had when I was living in the States and in Korea, because people here don't won't talk to you if they don't know you. At least unless
and how do you get to know
they've had a
them if they
lot to
won't talk
drink.
to you?
They have to drink. It
Oh,
sounds like
really?
a joke, but I'm serious. Yeah. Um, so it's a bit tough, especially if you're going out and just trying to be social for the first time. But
So it's a series of accidental conversations.
yeah, kind of. But you have to have those accidental conversations with the same person at least 2 or 3 times before they will say, "Oh yeah, let's follow each other on Instagram."
Wow, tough crowd.
Yeah, yeah. They're they like to keep their peace, which I can respect. Uh, and this was the first place I've ever been where they said, "Oh, why do Americans always ask how are you as a way of saying hello?" They're like, "It sounds so fake. Why do you care how anyone is if you've just met them?" I'm like, "Well, it's fair. I mean, that's a fair question, but
Yeah,
I
it's a
wouldn't
good
call it
question.
fake."
Yeah, I don't.
But
Yeah, I don't know that I'd go that far, but I get where that can seem that way.
yeah,
It's kind of
but
like the in the UK they say a lot. Americans are always injecting work into their conversations. What do you do professionally? And they're like, we don't really ask that question. It's like that's third date question, not I just met
yeah,
you question, which is kind of
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, because like I know that for us in the States, we like to just kind of talk about anything, uh, any interests, traumatic stories, whatever. We'll talk about anything if somebody wants to talk to us. Here, you like, just for example, with the twins, when we were in the States, where they were born, people would come up to us in Walmart, and we were in nothing but red states the whole time. So we were pleasantly surprised. But people would come up to us and they'd be like, "Oh my God." And their way of asking if we were gay was, "Are they twins?" Because we just had them strapped to us. We're like, "Yeah, they're twins." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, they're so lucky to have dads like you." And it was like, it was so nice. And then we came here and we can see people like pointing at us and smiling. But nobody talks to us. And nobody says, "Oh, your babies are so cute." And not that I necessarily am asking for that, but it was just such a difference in the way people approach things like
So you,
that.
you don't think they're being standoffish. You think they don't want to step into your bubble and invade your privacy.
Exactly. That
Okay.
so and it took me some time to kind of realize that. Uh, but yeah, they're very, because they don't want people stepping into their bubble, so they don't want to step into yours.
I could probably get used to that.
Sometimes they go. I'd say they
Unless it's
go
like all
like,
the time. I think it's like
yeah,
every day, all day. I guess it can feel a little isolationist if no one's really engaging with you.
yeah. No, it's like, because everyone, like, I used to work in I worked as a bartender and a waiter when I first moved here. And I was the gimmick hire because everyone was like, "Oh, let's get the Southern gay guy to say hey y'all to the new customers and all this stuff." And the shocked looks on their faces when I would just go up to take their order and things like that. It was like I had two heads the way they looked at me because I was interrupting their piece.
Well, how else would you do that?
Uh, You got me. I just kind of learned to overlook that face, and some of them don't make. I'd say half the population of Norwegians, they don't make like they welcome the conversation, but they're not going to be the first ones to take that step.
Okay.
It's
Fair
yeah.
enough. Wow. Okay. I mean, I
Sorry,
appreciate
that's like
that.
my can of worms.
No, I appreciate that because I wouldn't have thought of that. I think it's one of those things that you would really only experience by visiting the region. And I think somewhere like Norway is definitely on my list of places to go. So when I get there one day, I'm gonna remember this conversation and kind of act appropriately. But I do want to ask about your origin stories. Obviously, we are all, not all of us, most of us are parents and we have kids, but we were all people before we were parents. So how'd you meet the love of your life that you're with in Norway now? I know you guys met in Korea, but was that just did you guys just bump into each other, or was he a teacher as well?
No, so he's from South Korea,
Okay.
um, and we met on a gay dating website.
Mm-hmm. As most of us do.
Yeah. So he's actually my first date and first boyfriend ever.
Oh, very
Um,
nice. You know, I have a similar story, so I feel it.
but yeah, he was, or when we started chatting, he was the first one not to send me something uh just like way too direct.
Salacious.
And yeah. And I was just kind of like, okay, this guy just wants a coffee. This should be fine. And then we started talking, and he told me he was going to move here to study. So I was like, okay, well, if he's a creep, then I never have to worry about running into him again. And I was just kind of like, let's just get this first date out of the way, whether he's a good guy or not. And yeah, we went on that first date we went to a pasta restaurant, which if you're ever in Korea, no one's going to tell you this. Go to a Korean style pasta or pizza place. It's a very unique experience. Their view on pasta is interesting. Anyway,
So it's that
uh,
different. Okay, I'm trying to add a lot of visuals to these podcasts as well. So I'm gonna Google it and put up a picture of this pasta because I'm
okay.
curious.
I mean, I'd say Google a place called Mad for Garlic. That's one of their fancier pasta places, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so much cheese you'll have a heart attack just looking at it.
Oh, my husband loves
Yeah,
cheese.
it's a lot.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
so we went there. We had really nice dinner, and then neither of us wanted it to end, so we went for tea, and then we went for frozen yogurt. So I think it ended up being about an 8-hour date. Um, and then it just kind of happened that we would see each other every weekend up until he moved to Norway. That was about 7 months.
And now 50 years
And
later, we're still eating yogurt.
yeah, pretty much. Uh, we broke it off once he moved here because he wasn't so keen on the long distance idea, and which I thought fair enough. And then, yeah, about 5 months after he moved here and nightly FaceTimes, we just decided let's just make it official. And then, about a year and a half after that, I came here, and then we were married. So,
Nice. Well,
yeah.
kudos. How long ago was that? Is that like 5 years ago now?
Ooh,
Oh,
12.
longer. 12. Congrats.
Yeah.
Double digits. I like it. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So, was having a family or expanding a family, was that part of some of your initial conversations? And I know a lot of couples tend to put that out really early as a way of, and I think most people should, right? These are the conversations that you have date one, date two, to kind of gauge on whether this is going to be promising or not. But not a lot of people do that. So I tend to ask if people have conversations about, hey, I want to have kids, or I can't ever live in South America if you're thinking about that, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, I can't say we had that conversation at this when we were dating, but definitely once we started like talking about marriage and stuff, we talked about it a little bit. I can remember I was pretty open to the idea, but I wasn't 100% sold. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just because for me, I know that I know my parents did their best, but I still came out a huge ball of stress and anxiety, and they I hate saying it like this, but I can't think of a better way. But they definitely made some mistakes with the way that they approached me, and the things that they would say about gay people and things like that. Um, it definitely changed the way that I approach the world, I'd say. Um, and then he just wanted kids outright. That's something he always knew that he wanted. Um, because just it's not even because, and he made it clear that it wasn't even because for the same reasons that a lot of people in our parents' generation had kids, which was someone to take care of me later on and things, something selfish. It was just he wanted to bring a new life into the world and show it how to be a good person and to contribute something or to make something of themselves. And to me, that was very refreshing. So even though I wasn't completely sold on the idea of having them, it made me comfortable with the idea of having them with him. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it sounds like it was a very valuable conversation, and hopefully people listening to this can learn also, these conversations aren't always just, are you ready to have kids? Yes or no. It's really, let's talk about what that could potentially look like and what it means to me, to us, to the world. But I think you bring up some valid points. My conversations with a lot of dads, intended parents, those who are looking to potentially go down that road, oftentimes people who do not have kids yet. I often ask them what their fatherly profile looks like today, right? Because we all have qualities in us that we've gotten from our parents, and it's either the ones we love, right? I love what you did, thank you, I want to keep that, it's part of me, I want to share that with someone down the road. Or there are the components that we don't like. Hey, I saw that, I don't like that. I am wise enough, or I've taken that introspective journey that says I recognize that that is not something that I want, and it's done something to me, but it's made me who I am today, and I love myself enough to know that I don't want to pass that down. So it sounds like you've had a few of that. All of us have. That's what makes us who we are today. Um, so what would you say are some of the awesome qualities that you've gathered from dad that you potentially made you who you are today?
well, when I was younger, the one thing I'm the kind of the black sheep of the family. Everyone else is very outdoors, and I'm very. Uh, I like
So
to read.
your siblings then, right?
Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's 3 years younger, um, and he's exactly like my parents, like very outdoorsy, very rugged in a way, and I can be those things. I just choose not to be. So I'm more on the artistic, intellectual side, whereas they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad kind of falls under the same category as me sometimes. So that was the one thing: movies and books and video games. Those were the little bits that we had in common. Um, other
What
than
video
that,
game, please? I'm sorry, you brought video games up. Let's pick one that
um,
is your favorite.
he I remember he brought home was it a Super Nintendo, and it was Super Street Fighter 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he
Yeah.
regrets that because I picked Chun-Li like right away. Um,
Chun-Li was badass. Hey, come on, let's keep it worth that. So
yeah, nah. So,
awesome. I
but no,
like
he
that.
was
Okay.
yeah. So we'd play video games together. We'd go and watch movies. He was always the one to take me to the cinema and stuff like that. And those were the kinds of things, like those are the clear memories I have with him, where I felt loved and wanted by him. Because a little bit further down that road, towards the end of his military career, I was about 11, he became Christian. He became a very serious Christian. So those things that we had in common went away, at least for a
Mm.
while. And that was when I really started to feel othered in my own family. So, sorry, I went a little dark and you were asking about the awesome things. But
No. I mean, that was going to be the next question. I think it's a natural progression, right? Because we tend to lean into the positive, and then that's interwoven, right, with
Mhm.
some of the areas of opportunities, is what we'll call it, right? Some of the things your folks may have done that has shaped who you are today. It is who you are. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I knew that he loved me. I knew that he cared, but he wasn't a very vocal person about those things either. Um, while we weren't raised with the typical like boys don't cry, we were encouraged to. Never saw my dad cry until I left for
mm,
Korea. Um, and so for me, looking, I never saw that as a negative, but it definitely helped me realize or showed me that I want to be the kind of I want to show my children who I am really. I don't want to hide any part of myself from them necessarily. And while I can't give them my exact childhood, I would love to share the parts of my childhood that really mean something to me. So like things like going to the movies and making a special day of it. I think a lot of parents do that, but what my dad and I would do was, let's say we'd always go see the newest Disney movie. So before the movie, we'd go out to eat, then we'd go to the movie, and then we'd go to the library and we would read, like if it was Hercules or something, we would read books about the actual myths, so he could show me what was different from the Disney version from the real version, and things like that.
okay.
And yeah, and it was just things like that that were kind of okay. You saw this oversimplified version, but look at how much more amazing it is when you really look at it.
There's a lot more
And
to it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's something I really appreciated, and I think it's also what made me want to study English and literature and things like that. So I want to
Is
share
Dad
my
still with
passions
us
with them.
today?
Yeah. Both my parents are still here.
Okay. Is your relationship with your parents, with your dad, as an adult now, do you think it's better, different?
Mm, it could, I'd say it could be better. Um,
Okay.
he's still the same kind of stoic, uh, keeps to himself kind of guy. So, cause like even when I faced before the twins were born, when I'd FaceTime with my parents, my dad was always just, he'd be there, he'd be in the room, but he'd never be on camera. It was always just my mom. Uh, because I don't know why. And I tease him about it and things like that to try and like get him to come because I just wanted to see him. Of course, now that we have the twins, they're the only thing that's on the camera. So then all of a sudden now he's there. Uh, so yeah, we
So
don't
it's
talk
rounding
a
the
lot,
edges a little bit.
a little bit. Like oh, he's a huge softie. Uh, it's like he lets it slip every now and then, and it's definitely now with age and with the babies, it's showing a lot more. But yeah, he's never been the one to reach out if he wants to say something, if he's hurt, if I said something that hurt his feelings, because my brother and I joke and tease him quite a bit. Um, it's always my mom that has to text me. She goes, you kind of hurt your dad's feelings. You should apologize or things like that. But
Interesting.
it's just yeah, it's just
It's an
we're in an
interesting
okay
dynamic.
place.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, and that's good. I I love to hear stories like this because it's not always a happy ending, right? Not everybody gets to have just a connection, a strong connection, a great connection, any connection with their parents. Um, Especially dealing with like the coming out stories and the changes in opinions and thoughts. Some people react very viscerally and then come around and all of a sudden they're the best friends in the world. And sometimes it takes people a little bit longer, maybe longer than we want it to. But at the end of the day, I think it's kind of shaped who we are as individuals today. And it sounds like you are taking some of that you said, hey, I don't like that, and intentionally doing some changes with your kid. Is that a fair
Yeah.
statement to make? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And like I'm an English teacher, or I'm still teaching now. And so I follow the same I approach my students the same way I would my children. Uh I try to be as of course there you have to have some boundaries, but I try and be as open with them as possible. Like they all know that I'm gay. They all know that I have a husband. They all know about the babies. Uh and I talk to them like they're just normal people because I don't know, I hate it when kids talk or when people talk down to kids. It makes me feel icky. And
Yeah,
I
I
can
think it mentally
see,
makes them stay kids if you don't
yeah.
engage them at a higher level. Yeah.
And I mean, I've had some very insightful conversations with 12 with my 12-year-old students, just because of the way that I speak to them. It's they complain or about something and that's going on at home or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, let's unpack this. What's going on? And I get so much more than I was ever willing to give to my guidance counselor at that age or my teachers at that age because they they were up here looking at me down here.
Tell me about your expanding your family journey. Obviously, you have how many
Yeah,
kids do you have?
two
Two kids.
twins.
So what was
Yeah.
that journey for you? Did say twins. What was that journey for you when you and your husband decided, hey, we're going to start this journey? What path did you decide to go down?
Oh, that's so this is a bit of a we had a little where we decided to go through surrogacy, uh,
Hmm.
and we had
Just so everyone can hear in the background, those are your cats, right?
which yeah,
No, which is fine. Which is
she's
fine.
yeah, no,
It's
she's
just the one. Is it
attached
just
to
the
my hip.
one?
Yeah, we have two, but this one is like this is my ride or die. So she normally has to be with me at all times, but if she's in here, it's going to be even louder.
Okay,
Uh,
fair enough.
yeah. So yeah, we decided to go through surrogacy. Um, and this was also we also considered adoption, but when we realized that we couldn't adopt from any country where the children would look anything like my partner, that was where we started really considering surrogacy and ultimately landed there, um, among other reasons. So Koreans aren't, at least older Koreans aren't like my mother-in-law, aren't very open to the idea of adoption. They're very big on blood relation. So that was a very minor factor. The other one was also the looks. And at the beginning, I didn't understand that uh, as a white man from the United States. And then when my husband said, I don't want to be mistaken for the nanny. And then it kind of clicked. And he said, we live in Norway where everyone's white and they have Asian nannies, this is the thing. They all come from
Oh,
the
that is
Philippines
interesting. Like I
or,
would not
yeah.
have thought about that.
And he said, also when people adopt, he said, it's normal for a white couple to adopt a non-white baby. He said, but if you see an Asian couple with a black baby or a white baby, he said, you don't see that. And he said, and if you did, people are going to ask questions. And I'm like, oh, that really sucks. And I totally see what he meant. So yeah, so then we have ultimately agreed on surrogacy, and I randomly one day found this account called Gays with Kids, and I think when I first started following them, they were in the starting stages because now they're much bigger than they were when I found them.
Yeah, I had a chance to speak to Brian recently. They're doing some fantastic things out there.
Well, so we reached out, and Brian was the one who helped us. So he pointed us in the. He didn't really point us in any directions, but he was just kind of like hinting, like agencies, this one, fertility clinics, look at these ones, and was like telling us who works best and things like that. And he
Mm-hmm.
goes, but and through the whole, let's see, it took us about almost 3 years from
Mm-hmm.
start to having the babies. And he was checking in on us like every couple months through the whole thing. It would not have, I think it would have been a much less enjoyable experience without him. So anybody
There's a
listening,
lot to
Gays
navigate
with
that
Kids,
that's kind
yeah,
of a surprise to going through any of these processes. I'm glad you were able to find that connection earlier on.
yeah, it was definitely a godsend. Like he was so helpful. And yeah, through him, we found our agency, Simple Surrogacy, also great. They checked in on us so much and gave us updates on everything, whether it was like egg donors, when finding the surrogate, all of that stuff. And it was like so smooth, so simple. It was much easier than we were expecting. The tough
Okay, so
part
when
came.
you
Oh yeah,
found out I'll let you get back to the tough part, but when you found out you were
yeah.
having twins, was that a surprise, or was that like, hey, you might be having twins, you might not, just be prepared, or was it just like, hey, by the way?
It was kind of planned. Um, our surrogate was willing to do a double embryo transfer.
Okay.
And she was approved for it. And our doctor, Dr. Score at, I can't remember the name of the clinic now, but it was a fertility clinic in Dallas. He had also had twins himself through
Mm.
surrogacy. And he assured us that, well, yeah, it's not 100% guaranteed. It's always worth a try, and it's not very dangerous. As long as your surrogate's willing, go for it. And since we're a biracial couple, we split the batch of eggs from the donor and fertilized half with my stuff and fertilized the other half with his, and we put one of each in the surrogate, and they both took. So
Look at
we
that.
kind of knew it could happen, but we were very happy that it was a positive result for both. Because then it turned out that because of that, we got one boy and one girl. And
Fraternal.
yeah,
Yay.
yes.
All right, so
So,
go back to the hard part about this process. You were talking about the
oh
surrogacy
yeah.
process and your conversations with Brian, finding the right agencies, but the tough part was ...
So the tough part was, as knowledgeable as Brian and the agency is with everything that goes on in the United States, most of the stuff that goes on in the United States, I should say, we weren't prepared, my partner and I, for kind of the bureaucratic administrative stuff that you have to do when you have a baby in the United States, especially if you're trying to get back home to Norway or wherever you're living outside within a month.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also we didn't know that Norway makes you go do this whole roundabout thing of establishing your parenthood of said child if it's born via surrogacy, because they don't understand foreign surrogacy laws. So the stuff that happened in the States was we were told by the hospital administrator that we would have the birth certificate pretty much like a day or two after they were born. This was not true. We could register them and then file the paperwork for the birth certificate in that time. It would take almost 2 weeks to get the birth certificate, which we needed for passport.
Yeah, it just delays everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but and then the other thing that caused a huge speed bump was social security numbers. In Norway, they have the same thing, and residents have them as well. But everything comes once everything is approved, like your application, whatever, you get it in an email that day. Everything for the twins in the States was so analog. It was all through the mail or
all by mail.
It had to be physical. Yeah. And so me not having lived in the States for 15 years almost, I didn't realize this. So luckily my mother and I are both very pushy people when we need to be. So we were able to get the birth certificate after about 5 days, after kind of bullying the county clerk's office. Then I didn't know that applying for a social security number was an option. I thought it was mandatory. So applying for the social security number really slowed us down as far as leaving the country, because that was also going to take 6 weeks.
Could you have done it after the fact? I mean, I'm sure you want your kids to have. Okay, it was just a matter of time.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't know that it was going to take that long. I was thinking, oh yeah, it'll be like Norway. It'll be right here. No. So yeah, and then applying for the passport was a whole thing. It was like, I didn't realize it was a sit down meeting with somebody, in a post office. Cause growing up military, I'd always just have my passport, but, yeah, so it was all these things on that side that we weren't prepared for. And my husband, because I can complain, I complained a little bit about how slow Norwegian bureaucracy is. Like, we're still waiting for the twins' residence permits, and that was applied for 6 months ago. But my husband told me, he goes, "You're not allowed to complain about anything in Norway." He goes, "At least once it's approved, we have it." And I was like, fair enough.
Silver lining. I like this guy.
Yeah. Because for him, it was also, he just wanted to get back to Norway so we could be back home. He also wanted to be away from my mother. And yeah, it just took so long. And then once we got here, back to Norway, then that was, so like, let's see if I can explain this quickly. So
take your time. We got time.
Okay. So for the twins, the boy is biologically mine, and the girl is biologically my husband's. In the eyes of the Norwegian government,
how do you know?
DNA tests.
Dum, dum. Okay.
Also,
you guys wanted to know.
One is in the words of a lady we met at. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna say, in the words of a lady we met in Walmart, you can tell one has more melanin.
Leave it to Walmart to give you all the DNA answers you need.
She was one of 2 people who asked how we did, like, for the whole process, and she was the most like direct with, "Yes, you can tell."
Just in the store, just, "Hey, tell me your whole story."
Pretty much. But I wasn't complaining. I was like, "Yes, I missed this in Norway. Just give it to me." So in the eyes of the Norwegian government, we're both, even though we're married, we're both single fathers. So then we had to go through.
Oh, that's just an additional layer of bureaucracy, right?
Yeah. So we had to go to the Norwegian welfare office, basically, or their Social Security Administration, and start the paperwork to establish parenthood ourselves. So then that took a couple months. And then they sent us DNA tests, and we had to go to our doctor, and he had to just swab us all and then send that off back to another hospital. And actually, today I just got my results that I am the father.
Oh, congratulations. Oh, this is very Maury
Thank you.
Povich, isn't it?
I was gonna say I was kind of disappointed. My husband never watched Maury as a kid.
Oh, well,
'Cause
okay. Well,
I
you get
could have
that
had my
moment with me
moment.
today.
Thank you. So yeah,
We're gonna have to get him caught
and
up on
then
some Maury Povich.
oh yeah. So yeah, now that that part is done, we can adopt the one that the one that is not
So now you gotta adopt each
biologically ours.
other's. Yeah.
Exact.
Wow, this is quite just one thing after another.
Yeah, it's a lot of hoops to jump through. Uh, but luckily I'm the one on parental leave right for the whole year. So my husband works and I just stay home and I'm entertained by two babies all day.
And paperwork.
So and paperwork. So it makes the paperwork tolerable.
Fair enough. What have you noticed before baby, after baby about yourself?
Ooh. Um,
So
for
here's a
someone,
quick example. I've heard a lot, and some of this is true for me as well. Because again, I have a 12-year-old kid, and we adopted him here in the state of Arizona when he was 4. So we adopted him out of the state system, foster care system.
nice.
So going from not being a dad to being a dad is for a lot of LGBTQ community members is an overnight activity, right?
Mhm.
You oftentimes don't get to spend the 9 months with your surrogate. Maybe there's a pop-in visit here and there. There's a lot of video, but the experience is slightly different, right? Because you're not next to them all the time, unless there's specific scenarios where that can be the case if you've got the means to do that. But going from not having a kid to all of a sudden the kid's in your hand and everybody else is gone is quite the culture shock, for lack of a better term. But it makes you a gentle parent. It makes you more aware. Now you're paying attention to the light bulb in the corner that's flashing that you never noticed before. So I always like to ask, because everybody has a different answer, what that experience was for you.
Um, luckily and unluckily, we had a couple days to kind of ease into it. So the little boogers decided they wanted to come 5 weeks early.
Oh wow.
So
Well, twins,
yeah,
right? So you just never know.
yeah. So we were still here in Norway. Where was I? I was at the gym, and our surrogates, our surrogate and her husband, they're not the most chatty people. So when I saw that there was a notification in the group chat, I was like, oh fuck. I was like, they're coming. I didn't even read the message, and I opened it. Her water broke. So yeah, I called my husband. I was like, what do we do? What do we do? Like, I was panicking. Like, nobody in the middle of the gym, nobody here ever shows that much emotion. And so I was just like frantic. I looked like a mess. And then things calmed down. We got things organized. We couldn't get to Texas to be with them until 2 days after. So we had, as much as it sucked to not be there, we had those 2 days to be like, oh shit, we're dads now. Like it's actually happened. And yeah, and then they were also in the NICU for 2 weeks, which also wasn't ideal, but it also gave us that time with with the nurses to learn, oh yeah, this is how you hold things. This is how you do this. And it was so helpful. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it was, and I'm all like, and then once they were out of the hospital, I'm normally a very stressed, like anything can go wrong kind of person. with very serious things like infants. But with these two, it was so relaxed. I'm so relaxed. Like I don't panic or stress about anything, and it's really nice to not be stressed about anything for once. And it helps that they're just like super easy babies in a way. They
Well, that's good.
eat when they're supposed to, they nap when they're supposed to. Well, not all the time. But then they're just, I don't know, like I hate to sound like a cliche, but they're just perfect. And it's definitely made easing into being a dad much easier than I thought it would be.
That
Like I
means their
don't
terrible twos are going to be terrible.
That's what everyone says.
No,
But
I don't know. I don't know. But what I have heard through all these interviews is those that have like the amazing kids that sleep through the night and they no issues, and when they're 2 or 3, then it's like, okay, now we're making up for lost time.
I mean, the girl, I can already tell she's going to be the one that like falls out of her crib because she's climbing all over the place. And the boy is just he's like a little Buddha. He just sits there and just chills. He doesn't he likes to talk. That's about it. He'll make so much noise. But yeah, I mean, I honestly thought halfway through the pregnancy of the surrogate, I was like, "Oh God, my life's going to be over. I can't just leave the house when I want to anymore once they're here."
Well, you
And that's
can.
true.
It's just gonna take a lot more. And now you're gonna be
Yeah,
like, I don't want to leave the house because I have to do 8 things before I leave the house.
exactly. I'm there, but I don't care about it. It's like something I thought I was going to hate or like was going to just not ruin my life, but just kind of be a big inconvenience. Just it isn't. And
It's just part
I'm
of
happy.
the process, right? It's just what you need to
Yeah.
do to get to the next step. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a very easy transition, I think, because things were just lined up to make things easier for us in a way. And
Did you do
it's,
any research? Did you try to find books on parenting? Did you
uh,
find an LGBTQ slant to how to be a dad? I get that the answer for most is like no, I couldn't find anything. Obviously today in today's world there is an uptick in trying to get resources out there.
well, I didn't have to because my husband was like, he was sending me in TikTok after TikTok and Instagram reel after video, like of all these things that people do at which age and all this stuff.
You're
And
shaking your head. It makes me think it was probably one video too much.
well, it wasn't that. It was more, I had to sit in, like, I had to, one night we were like going to bed and I just said, look, I like I'm open to advice. I'm open to suggestions on how we raise the kids. I said, but when it comes to the baby stuff, so when it comes to this, like the psychological and health stuff, if it's not from a doctor, I don't want to see it. Because he was sending me all this stuff of like influencer moms and things like that. And it's like, if if you're a mom, or if you're a parent or a mom, dad, whatever, and you find something that works for your kid, beautiful. But that only works for your kid. What? Because I can see in the twins, or in my students, I should say, because this was before they were born, like the discipline that works for one kid is not going to work for another, or the way you get one kid to do his work is not going to work for the girl in the corner. And that's what I tried to tell him. But he's very much, it has to be his idea before he accepts it kind of person.
A little Inception.
Yeah. Which is in a way, I married my father. But yeah. So I just
Well,
said,
I
if
was gonna
it's
say
not,
congratulations, but I don't know if that's so
no, it's,
listen, if there was a podcast out there like mine in earlier days, because
mhm.
the goal here is really to make sure that people see the many sides of dads, right? The dads before they were dads, and how cool they are as dads, and how we're all kind of learning this as we go, and no shoe fits the same person the same way, or no shoe fits a different person. Anyway, um but I think hearing these stories and saying they went through a similar path, I like some of what they did, I don't like some of what they did, maybe I'll take some of it, maybe I'll take none of it. I often thought that if there was something like this when I first got Jacob, I would have felt a little bit better about hearing stories from actual dads who are like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what I did, and it works for me. And if you
Yeah.
find some comfort in it, cool. And if you don't, then skip to the next podcast episode on Fathernetics, uh, and listen to that story and see if that one jives with you. So, if there was something out there like that, do you think you would have been more receptive? And you don't have to say yes because you're on a podcast.
I'd say yes, and more because I relate more myself to hearing people's stories rather than little snippets of this is what I do for my kid and it works. So to hear, like, I think you had an episode I listened to a week or two ago where you were talking to somebody who was raised by two dads. I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I
Ethan,
really
Ethan,
enjoyed listening.
Ethan.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed listening to that because it was like, it's not that we're worried that one of the twins is going to tell us one day that they're gay or things like that. But you can't, I mean, at least for me, and I know my husband's the same way, we both kind of wonder, like, will people say, oh, of course that their kid's gay, they're gay. And not that that matters, but it's just kind of like, it was interesting to hear how his dad's raised him and that he'd go to Fire Island. And not that I've been there, but I've heard things.
We all have, right?
And yeah. So it was kind of like, I was like, oh, wow. Because like, yeah, I, especially for us here, I feel like we have a little bit of a microscope on us, being that we're a different style of family. We're both immigrants, we're both gay, and all this stuff. And to hear that, like, there were so many things like, oh no, we have to change the way we talk. Yeah, we should change the way we conduct our
Gotta
private lives in
assimilate,
some
right? That's
ways.
how they tell
Yeah.
people, please assimilate. Yeah. But
And
his perspective, Ethan's perspective for me was, how are our kids gonna see us?
yeah,
Because Ethan's
that's
perspective is he has two gay dads. So it's like, that's such a unique perspective that's now going to become more prevalent as more LGBTQ community members are expanding their families and having kids. Now having two dads is already normal, but it's going to be exponentially more visible as our kids are like, yeah,
mhm.
let me tell you about my two dads. So I thought that was pretty cool.
No, so it was, yeah, I I think it's good to learn from others' experiences and take what resonates with you rather than write everything down as scripture, if that makes sense. So like something like this, I think is very helpful. It's setting an example of there's not one way to be a dad. There's yeah, it's a
A
different
dad is a
experience for
dad is
everyone.
a dad, whether you're part of the LGBT. No, I'll get the letters. Whether you're part of the community or not, a dad is a dad. We all seek to, as a whole, right, make sure our kids are better off than we were when we were parents or kids ourselves. The means of delivering that is different, and I think it's exponentially more of a challenge for an LGBTQ member because of all, you talked about all the hoops you have to jump through.
Yeah,
Traditional families don't have to do a fraction of that. So it's like there is a lot of intentionality that goes in to you, Nate,
definitely.
being a parent, because these are choices you made long before the baby arrived. They're choices you're making today. And it has very little to do with the parenting. It has a lot to do with politics, which if we could choose not to deal with, I think we could just focus more on just being our amazing parenting selves. But they're going to drown in some paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So 1 more, 10 more. What are we thinking?
More kids. Oh no. No. 2 and I'm good. The husband keeps asking, or not asking, but like, yeah,
Is he
if we have a
hinting?
third one. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. But no. I grew up in a 2-child household. I like the even number. My argument is, but if we go to a theme park, someone would be riding alone if there's 5 of us.
I love it. That is okay. I've never heard that before, but I think it makes absolute sense. I was just at a water
Thank
park
you.
the other day, and it was that odd number, and it was like, okay, so I have to stay down here while you go down with them, and then when you come down, if they want to go again, then we got to switch. So it's a whole okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That's clever.
Thank you for validating me, because he always tells me that's a stupid argument.
Listen, there are parents out there that do it, and they do it well. Now, again, like you said earlier, if that's not for you, then just get 2 more to keep the numbers right.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
nah,
not helping.
he's 45. I'm not doing 2 more in 3 more years.
There's always
So
time. As a gay dad, you do not have a biological clock to maintain.
that's true.
So
That's
no
true.
excuses there. But stay within your
You got
comfort
me.
zone is what I would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. It's definitely, we're staying at 2. We're happy with the 2. I don't see
So
myself
listen,
wanting
a
any more.
year or 2 from now, it is my goal and hope to have you and your husband back on the podcast so we can talk about what those developmental markers have been for you, because while I've been speaking to a lot of new parents that have newborns and toddlers, and I think those stories are amazing. I want to continue to reach out and talk to those who have older kids. You know, mine's 12.
Mhm.
Blink twice, he's going to be 18. So, you know, that type of storyline is always helpful to those who have new kids now, and they're like, okay, what could this possibly look like in 5 years? Not that it will be exactly the same, but some of those milestones are always kind of the same, right? The walking, the talking. Now they've got personalities, they've got attitudes. Now it's all in your future, Nate. I'm sorry.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. So
Well, I mean, it's inevitable. You
we'll
can't
see.
avoid it. So it's going to happen. Nonetheless, I appreciate your time today. I'm not going to keep you much longer. I know it's kind of getting late over there, but this was fantastic. Thank you for sharing your story. Please say hi to your husband, and congratulations again on getting your DNA results from that young lady at Walmart.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on your podcast.
Anytime. Thank you, sir.
1, 2,